What up, internet? It's Take with the Tech, and we are back with another review. And today's game is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Now, if you missed out, this game came out last month. It is a single-player action-adventure game developed by Respawn Entertainment and published by EA. And yes, this game definitely lives up to the hype. It's been on most people's radar for about a year now. It was first announced at E3 2018, and we've been waiting ever since, and we are not disappointed. We're all just kind of mad that it didn't make it to the Game Awards this year, because the day it was released, they stopped taking submissions for Game of the Year, so that kind of sucks. They could have snuck Star Wars in there, because Death Stranding was all down the polls and it came out just a little bit earlier. But we're not here for the Game Awards, so without further ado, let's just hop right into the review. First off, I'm going to start with the story. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to get everything that I'm saying, but if you're not, I'm going to explain it the best way possible. The story takes place 5 years after Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, and before Star Wars Rebels and Rogue One, a Star Wars story. So yes, the story is canon. This is in the same universe as the Star Wars movies and all the TV shows that tie in with the movies. You play as Cal Kestis, a former Jedi Padawan that's in hiding from the Galactic Empire after the Order 66, which is when the clones turned on Jedi and sparked the Clone Wars. He's been hiding on the planet known as Bracca, and he's been suppressing his Force abilities so that way the Inquisitors won't find him. Now, what happens in the story is that something happens to where he has to reveal that he's a Jedi using his Force abilities, and that's what starts the cat and mouse chase, so to speak. So without revealing too much of the story, the main synopsis is that Cal wants to restore the Jedi Order. So as you're hopping from planet to planet, running from the Galactic Empire, you're going to be completing your Jedi training and trying to find a way to restore the Order at the same time. One of the big reasons why this game's story is so good is the voice acting. They really pulled some star power for this game, because Cal Kestis is actually played and voice acted by Cameron Monaghan, which is famous for like Shameless and Gotham. You got other big names like Forrest Whitaker, Tony Amendola, and Deborah Wilson as side characters in the game, and that really is a huge strength for the story. Now, if you're not much of a Star Wars story person, don't worry, the gameplay is still amazing. The gameplay is just like a Dark Souls or a Sekiro or a Bloodborne. I would probably say it's more towards Sekiro around this time, because it's not as hard as Dark Souls. It was also heavily inspired by Batman Arkham Asylum, but it's a Souls game for the most part, just not as hard. And since you're a Jedi, then obviously the only weapon you're going to be using throughout this game is the lightsaber and your Force abilities. Now, I know this may turn a lot of people off, because a lot of people like weapon variety and like to try out new things, but I promise you, once you play the game and progress through the story and start getting new abilities and new pretty much lightsaber upgrades, you're not going to miss any other weapon. You're not going to want a laser or anything like that, but the game is fine just with the lightsaber and the Force abilities. They have a healthy progression system, so you don't have to worry about things like that. Speaking of player progression, the skill tree is really fleshed out in this game. The skill tree has three main branches, which is the Force, the lightsaber, and your survival skills. So as you progress through the story and kill enemies, all of that nets you experience points that you can use to dump towards these abilities. So if you want increased lightsaber damage, extra health, like a switch attack, a leap and slash, dash strikes, all of these goes into the game, and you can build your character up however you want. Now, I will say, in the beginning of the game, you may want to dump your points towards your health, because this is a Dark Souls game. So since you don't know the enemy patterns yet, you may die a lot, because you don't get a lot of health in the beginning. My next pro for this game are the explorable worlds. As I said before, you're going to be jumping from planet to planet as the story progresses, and the game has 4 major planets and a couple other planets as the story progresses. So when you're not doing the story, you have these huge worlds to explore, and in the beginning you just can't completely clear out an entire planet, because you have to have certain abilities to get to certain areas. So as the story progresses, you can go back to previous planets and explore new things that you didn't see on your first playthrough. The main reason for exploring this game are the collectibles. So throughout the story, you're going to be picking up audio logs that further progresses the story, or just increase your knowledge of the lore in general. And you're going to be picking up cosmetic items. So that means outfits, poncho colors, BD1 skin, which is your companion in the game, ship skins, which is the mantis, and lightsaber upgrades. So throughout the game, you're going to be finding lightsaber emitters, materials that changes the color of the lightsaber, sleeve, and switches all throughout the game. So if you like cosmetic items and you like changing up your style every now and then, you're going to fit right in. Now, with all of that said, does the game run smooth? Yes, it does for most platforms. So during my research, I found out that it runs best for PC players, runs pretty good for Xbox, and the most problem comes on PlayStation. But I do have a PS4 copy, and I didn't go through too many crazy problems, but I did see performance drops and occasional bugs, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a game, it's not perfect. All games comes out with some sorts of bugs, but it's not game breaking. A lot of people complain that the frame rates are dropping on PlayStation, but it's nothing too serious. It may just happen when you're going through a cutscene that's kind of intensive, or it has a whole bunch of enemies on screen, but for the most part, it's still totally playable. And I think for everybody, towards the end of the game, it started to get a little bit choppy, but it picks itself back up. So I don't know if there's some type of technical issue towards the end of the game, but a lot of people are saying towards the end it does get just a little bit choppy, but it cleans itself up. So overall, the game is optimized. Most of my playthrough, I've had no type of issues. It runs well, and it didn't affect my gameplay. Now, with all the good things out the way, it's time to get to the bad. It's not too many things that's wrong with the game, but there are some notables, and it may irritate you depending on what type of gamer you are. So my first negative is the map. You finally get access to the map in the beginning of the game when you encounter your companion BD1, and he acts as the map for you. And when I say this map is horrible, oh, it's so horrible. So like, Star Wars wise, it's good as far as like the aesthetic that it carries with the game and just the franchise overall, but from a gamer perspective, it is horrible because it's presented in like a hologram type of way, and it's kind of hard to read where to go on the map because it doesn't really tell you accurately which floor you're on. You're going to be jumping through the menu trying to figure out what floor you're on and how can you get back to a certain level or a certain area of the portion of the map. And they really need to patch it or make it so that we can change up the design a little bit, just so it can be a little bit more legible for us, because I can go on for hours about how bad this map is, and you're going to have difficulty getting back to certain areas if you don't know the game. After a while, you may get used to traversing certain parts of the planet, so you may know how to get back instinctively, but overall it's just bad design, man. It's so hard to read, but that is a huge negative on my in my book, because I had the most problem in that area. My second major negative is that there are no fast travel points. So once you finish your story, most of the missions require you to go back to your ship to go to another planet. But it's only a couple missions that actually put you in the ship after a mission is over. So once you're done, you have to walk all the way back, go back through everything that you've previously went through, and get back to your ship. Throughout the game, you unlock shortcuts that make getting back to the ship a little bit easier, but in combination with the horrible map, the quote-unquote map, it makes it that much harder to get back to your ship because you don't know where you're going your first time playing. So if you don't really know the planet that well, you're going to be running around into areas that you haven't seen or don't remember, and you have to find your way back. So yeah, in combination with that map, traversing is just so hard to do. So I feel like they can fix both of these major problems with a patch or something like that, to where they design the map a little bit better and they introduce fast travel points from your meditation spots. Now that'd be a good idea, but right now just exploring is so hard to do with the map and no fast travel points. It's almost like they want you to explore, like they're forcing you to, but you don't really have to, because the game is already long enough as it is, so you don't really have to pad the game by not putting in fast travel points. I get that you want to make the game explorable, but fast travel points should be pretty much an essential in any big open world game at this point. Now with the major negatives out the way, I can get to nitpicking. So one of my minor gripes is that it's hard to detect when you perfect parry. So in Dark Souls games like Sekiro, you get like sound cues or color changes to let you know that you executed a perfect parry. and Star Wars doesn't do a good job of that. Half the time I only know that I did a perfect parry is that it goes into the finisher animation, so that I know that I can one-shot them basically. It'd be nice if they threw in a patch to actually like give off a specific sound or animation that lets you know that you perfect parry, so that way we can detect it just a little bit better. My last complaint is that Fallen Order needs a new game plus mode. The story doesn't take long to beat. It takes about 20 to 25 hours to complete the campaign, and about 30 to 35 hours if you're a completionist. So if you want to explore the entire world, it may take you 10 extra hours. So introducing a new game plus mode would encourage replayability. Most RPGs and open world game has that nowadays, so somewhere down the line in 2020, I hope they introduce a new game plus mode so people can pick it up and start playing it again, because I really haven't really played it since I beat it. My only initiative is to go back and probably play it at a harder difficulty to get a new challenge, but starting the game over with all of my abilities and throwing some more enemies in would be perfect for this game. So add that, and now we can talk about longevity. So to wrap things up, let's do one more quick recap. For my pros, the story is good, combat is good, the skill tree is fleshed out, the world is big and explorable, the game is optimized, and it has great voice acting. And for my negatives, the map is hard to read, there are no fast travel points, it's difficult to detect perfect parry, and it needs a new games plus mode. So for my final verdict, yes, pick this game up. Full price discount doesn't matter. This game is absolutely worth your money because the story is great and the combat is even better. There are not a lot of games coming out in December. They're either ports or they're just not on no one's radar. So it's looking kind of weak this month for video games. So make sure you pick up this so that way you can just enjoy your break, enjoy the winter break, enjoy the holidays, play this game. Also pick up The Outer Worlds 2. I also did a review, so go check that out if you haven't yet. And yeah, man, let's wrap this up. So make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, man. Sure, y'all know how the internet works. I ain't gotta tell y'all. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. We out.